Hello again, as you know, I'm Eli the Computer Guy over here for EliTheComputerGuy.com and EverymanIT.com. Today's class is Introduction to SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol. This protocol allows you to proactively view what's going on the devices in your network and fix issues before they become major problems. If you are in an environment where you can do proactive maintenance, SNMP is a major, great, wonderful thing. SNMP is usually a component used in a larger software package. So if you use something like SpiceWorks to monitor your network, or Open Manager or LAN View or one of those pieces of software, they will use the SNMP protocol in order to communicate with all of the devices on the network and gather information from them. So SNMP is generally just simply a component of a larger software package. This class we're going to go over what SNMP is, why it is just about the most wonderful thing since sliced bread, and give you an idea of how you can use it on your network. So if you give me a second, we'll dive into this class, Introduction to SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol. So let's talk about SNMP. SNMP. Again, Simple Network Management Protocol, and why it is so awesome. Now, the first thing to remember is that SNMP is always going to be used as a component of another piece of software. So the software is going to be some kind of network management software. Again, something like LAN View or SpiceWorks. Basically, this software goes out and it takes a look at the network and can show you what's going on with all of the devices and computers in your network. Well, one of the ways it's able to gather information is through SNMP, the Simple Network Management Protocol. Why this is so great is because you can get a lot of information from the device in real time about what is going on with the device on the network. So normally if you use some of this network monitoring software, you know it can use a ping command in order to see if the computer is active. It can do a few other things to see if the computer is on the network, you know, what IP address it is, what host name it is, etc. Well, SNMP allows you to see what's going on in the computer. It can see how much of the hard drive space has been used. It can see how much of the CPU is currently being used, etc. Beyond that, it can actually see what's going on with the hardware on your computer. So things like whether or not the fans in the case are working properly, whether they're running at all, whether the memory slot is working properly, etc. SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol, is what is able to send this information back to a management console. Now, if you're a new person in computers, again, you're probably thinking if you have 5 or 10 computers, that's a lot of computers. Well, remember, when I was in the enterprise world, we did one deployment simply for a new application. That was 200 servers we brought online in a week. That wasn't our entire data center. That was just for one application that we brought online. 200 servers, and all of those servers had to be up and running. So the big question is if you want to make sure all your servers are up and running, you need to make sure that the case fans are working properly, the hard drives are working properly, CPU fans are working properly, etc. If you've got 200 servers or 1,000 servers, you can't simply walk through and open up every case every day to make sure everything's working right. Well, with SNMP, that information can be sent back to a management console, and you can see that there is an issue before it becomes a major problem. So if a case fan fails in a server, that's not going to destroy your server. It's just simply the case fan. But if the server cannot cool itself, the heat within the server gets too high, well, then it can destroy the server, it can destroy the hard drives, it can destroy the CPU, etc. But you do have a window before the heat builds up and destroys the components in the server. If you have this SNMP running, as soon as that case fan fails, it will send an alert back to the management console, and then the management console will give you an alert that says, server number 564 case fan just failed. You can go, oh crap, and you can grab a case fan and you can run out to server 564 and replace the case fan, and everything works just great. That's the major use for SNMP, is for these preventive maintenance type things. You can set alerts for if 80% of somebody's hard drive is used, then send an alert to you to tell you so that you can give them a bigger hard drive. If their CPU is always above 90%, that they can send an alert to you so you can fix the problem before the user notices there's a problem, or before the server or application or whatever fail. That's just what makes SNMP great. So when you're dealing with SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol, again, this is going to be built into another application, some kind of network monitoring application. So when you're dealing with SNMP, the first thing you have is some kind of management computer. So on this management computer, you'll have some kind of operating system, and then you'll install the SNMP management software. So this is where all of the alerts are going to go back to. So all the computers on the network where you have this set up will send information back to this management console, and then this management console will decide what to do. Will it simply pop up with an alert on the screen? Will it email you an alert? Will it email corporate headquarters an alert? That will all be decided based on rules on this management console. Then, for all the devices on the network that are using the SNMP software, you will install an agent. So this agent is simply a little piece of software that is able to read information on the device and then send that information back to the management console. Sometimes agents nowadays are already installed onto the device, and now Dell and some of the other major vendors of computers actually have what are called agentless SNMP, where the agent is built into the hardware itself. So the important thing is you do have to have this agent, but it may already be built into the computer or into the hardware. If it is not, you simply install the software onto the computer. So if you were going to use, one of these network management software, you would install the management console onto your one main computer where you're going to read all the information, and then you go out to all the individual computers or devices on the network and you install the agent. Now once you have done that, if you sit down at this management console, you can then connect to any of these computers and see the information. So you can see that 80% of the hard drive is used, or you could see that currently the CPU is running at 50%, etc., etc., etc. So that's when you simply sit down. Well, if you, on the agent, if you set what is called a trap, this trap is a way to alert the management console when a rule has been broken. So you could say, when the hard drive space goes above 80%, alert the management console. That is a trap. Traps are alerts that actually alert the management console when an event happens. So if the CPU fan fails, you can create a trap which will send that information to the management console. The management console will then show you, the administrator, oh, PC number 578's CPU fan failed. And that's really all there is to it. It is very simple, but very easy. So you have the management computer, you install the management software on. Then on the devices or computers you're going to be monitoring, you install the agent. At this point, the management console can connect to the agent and see what's going on in real time. But if you want to create an alert where this computer will alert the management console when there is a problem that you decide, you set what is called a trap. When the rule for that trap is met, that will then send information to the management console and you will be alerted with what is going on. And that's really all there is to SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol. Again, this will be built into a bigger application, you know, Spiceworks, LandView, whatever, some kind of network monitoring software. And then this is what happens. So SNMP is a major protocol, just like TCP/IP is. So it's a major protocol. There's a whole bunch of documentation onto it. It's built into this larger software. You install the management console, you install the agent, you set traps to send the alerts. A couple of the big things with this, if you decide to use software that uses SNMP, is that there is an SNMP service on your Windows computer. And if you disable that service, your SNMP software will not work properly. So if you install this management software and it's not working, make sure the proper services have been started. Back a few years ago in the old XP days, hackers were able to manipulate the SNMP service on Windows computers and cause you all kinds of problems, send messages and all kinds of nasty stuff. So some administrators disable the SNMP service. So just make sure it's actually set up and running. And then this is a protocol, Simple Network Management Protocol. So since it's a protocol, it uses networking ports. If you have firewalls set up on your network or on your individual computers, they may block the ports that are required for this service. So make sure whenever you're setting this SNMP software up that all the ports are open. You can use different ports depending on what software you're using, so just look into the documentation and see what's going on. If you have some kind of internet security suite on these computers, you're going to need to make sure the ports are open so that all the information can get sent back to the management console. So that's really all there is to SNMP. So that's all there is to SNMP, or Simple Network Management Protocol. This is a protocol that gets built into larger software, network monitoring software. The important thing to remember is you install the management console on one computer, so that's going to be your management server. Then you install the agent software on all the computers that are going to be monitored. And then if you want real-time alerts going back to the management console, you have to set what is called traps. How all this is done completely depends upon the software that you're going to be using. But believe me, I messed around with this and learned this the hard way. If you understand these concepts, using the software is going to be easier. If you just walk in and try to use a software off the bat, it's just really, really confusing. So as I say, especially if you're going into the enterprise world, this is amazingly wonderful, just better than sliced bread. The reason is because if you're deploying 100 or 200 servers at a go, again, you're not going to be able to check the fans in every computer. You're not going to be able to check every memory slot, especially with these new larger servers that support over 200 gigs of RAM. They may have 20 memory slots. How are you to know if one single memory slot in the 50th server fails? Well, you wouldn't, unless you're using this monitoring software that would use SNMP. It would give you the alert and then you could figure out what is going on. Again, I've used this stuff a lot in the real world. It is just absolutely wonderful. If you want to go out, do a Google search on SNMP and you will simply get tons and tons of different software packages that will be available to you. So the SNMP is simply going to be a component of those software packages. Some of them are open source, some of them are free, some of them don't cost very much, and some of them are just ridiculously, horribly expensive. Again, in the IT world, it all depends on what you need. You know, if you're dealing with some nonprofit organization and you guys have 40 PCs, you might be able to get away with downloading some free SNMP software simply to monitor those PCs and make sure they're working okay. If you go into an enterprise environment and you're dealing with, 10,000, 20,000 systems, well, then it might be worth paying $50 or $100 per agent for some SNMP software. It may save you more money at the end of the day. But this is all SNMP is. The only warnings that I will give you on it is, again, remember SNMP uses services on your Windows computer. Some administrators disable those services just to protect the computers. So if you're coming in behind another administrator and you try to set this up, it may not work properly because they may have shut off the services that are required for the SNMP. All you have to do is look in the documentation of the software, see what services have to be started, and then start those services on each and every computer. So that will take a little while. And then remember, this is also a protocol, just like TCP/IP, Simple Network Management Protocol. All networking protocols use different ports. SNMP can use a number of different ports. So again, look in the documentation of the software and see what that particular software uses for the ports. If you have firewalls enabled on the individual computers or somewhere in the network, the SNMP traps may not be able to send information because you've blocked ports. So just be careful of that. So that's really all there is to this class. Introduction to SNMP, Simple Network Management Protocol. As always, I'm Eli the Computer Guy over here for EliTheComputerGuy.com and EverymanIT.com. I enjoyed teaching this class and look forward to seeing you at the next one.